The Collaboration to Engage All Learners program is about educators getting together to encourage one another and provide accountability for one another and feedback as far as improving our practice around an inquiry question. And we've been really lucky to have Leighton Schnellert from the University of British Columbia attend with us and give us guidance and feedback and gives us a professional point of view on everything that we're doing. My inquiry question: what happens if I actually set an expectation and show them, here's how you practice, and here's what I'm expecting you to do, and you need to demonstrate to me that you've done that.
Within the school district community, there are several communities. And so we go from community to community doing a process called lesson study, where teachers co-plan something around their inquiry. They teach the students, and the other members of the community observe, and then we debrief together what we've learned from the experience, what this means, the strength and power of inquiry teaching, differentiation, place conscious learning. It's been really rich, and we call it emergent, but what that really means is it comes from the questions of the teachers, their passions, and the special gifts that their children bring, but also the place they're in.
Each time we meet, we start with a little check-in. So we talk about, where is our question going now? What have we done? What's worked? What isn't working in my classroom? Then we go into an actual lesson that is usually co-taught between Leighton and the teacher whose classroom it is. And the rest of us teachers sit in the back and observe or mingle with the students. And then after that, we break out of that classroom and we get back into our collaborative team, and we talk as a group about what worked, what didn't, what can we do in our own practice, what can we bring back to our classroom. And then we have a little planning time where we work on our own inquiry questions and what we plan to do next in our own classrooms.
It was like a band of rebels hanging out together, deciding we want to be better teachers, and we all have different projects, but we're all going to support one another. So it was really fun. I mean, we get together, there's humor, there's challenges in terms of people challenging each other. There are moments of being afraid when you have to bare your soul to other teachers about, this is a new idea I have, or come into my classroom and see what's happening. So there are times when it's scary, but it's just one of those experiences that if you do it and you stick through to the end, it will benefit you tremendously no matter what.
It's really great because I get a different perspective of things, and they give me a different perspective of even my own project. And whatever they're doing, I can generally apply it in some way to what I'm doing in my class. And then we've had the opportunity to go visit their classrooms, and I've learned things from that and taken them back and applied them to my own classroom. So that's good. And teachers tend to work in isolation sometimes. You wouldn't think it, but quite often, we're just in our room, and it's so nice to get out and see other things. My own inquiry had to do with making thinking visible for my students through a series of thinking moves. Because I realized when I first started with them and I asked them to draw their brain and what do they think's happening in their brain when they don't understand something, and some of the responses were, I asked my mom, I asked a friend. So I realized with the multi-grade that it would be good to instruct them on, how to understand things better. What can you do to understand things better?
As teacher candidates, we didn't necessarily expect that we would be included in this kind of professional development, but once we were involved, we recognized how important it was, and we just felt really supported by the district in saying, we feel that your input will be helpful here in the collaboration team.
You couldn't say who the teacher candidates were and who had been teaching for 15 years in the group because they were inquiring together.
But sometimes in different... My inquiry going into the learning rounds was, how can bringing music and music ensemble and preparation for performance increases a grade 2-3 student's sense of community. So be an individual within a community, but also feeling their ties with each other. What I'm discovering is, yes, the kids love music. They're challenged by working in ensemble, but what I found was I actually needed to build community before I could help them build an ensemble to build community. So now my inquiry has turned into, yes, music can create community, but first we have to almost create community to make the music together. So I'm working on both those aspects now.
My inquiry question started with how can I increase student written output by giving an authentic audience. And then I worked with my students for a few weeks and realized that some of their biggest challenges were in fact facing challenges. So then I wanted to shift my inquiry question to how can I help my students persevere in the face of a challenge. And I realized that actually goes hand in hand with my challenge of increasing written output and the enjoyment in writing. And so then my question shifted to how can I give my students an authentic audience for writing that they then can persevere through challenges to share their writing.
So my inquiry project began as the question, can I use universal design for learning to increase engagement in the intermediate classroom? As the collaboration team began working together, I was finding that the question was really fitting well with what Rochelle was working with.
Music is big, right?
Morgan actually came to me and said, hey, can I come work in your class as well? Can we have some serious collaboration? And I said, yeah, of course. He's placed in Katrina Summerall's grade 4, 5, 6 class. Come on over on the other side of the school to the high school side and come teach in my 7, 8 class with me. Because not only are you coming in with the expertise because you've practiced it in your classroom and you've figured out what works and what didn't, but you're coming into my classroom as a new authentic audience. A new teacher is the first new authentic audience.
I call it context.
What's so nice about this project is it really is, we build it together, we cross boundaries, and we make things that we're proud of that are based on both what the students desire, but also what the teachers desire.
The biggest lesson that came out of this for me was that students are willing to practice and willing to work hard, but many times they just don't know how to practice.
They all understand now that, thinking is an outcome of learning. So it's really important that they know how to think. So that involves things like connecting with what they already know, looking at different perspectives, understanding the complexity of things, how many things are multiple entries, describing things, observing what's there, and then inferring about what they think, combining their evidence with their schema, to infer something, and really understanding what something's about. So I can do those thinking moves through the whole curriculum. I apply it to their math, science, socials, writing.
And I think it's so rich for the students to see that their teachers are also learning still. So being in, for example, in Morgan's classroom, there were 10 of us sitting at the back. And at first, the students are a little nervous and why are all these adults here? But then Leighton and Morgan, co-teaching, had the students come to us and tell us what they were learning. And I think it was so valuable for the students to tell us what they were learning, to recognize that we as teachers are still always learning too.
The work that's happening in these classrooms of these educators is pushing the boundaries, not just of their own practice, but of others' practice. And so the richness of this collaboration is that I'm learning with them, they're learning with each other, but we're also going from community to community to engage in this work.
For me, working with Leighton Schnellert, working with the other colleagues, it makes me realize how much more I still have to learn. And I think that's so important for a professional person to realize not only that they have so much to learn, but then to surround yourself with people who can challenge you to actually grow, and that's how you become a better teacher. And so I've heard people talk about the idea that some teachers have 1 year of experience for 20 years in a row, rather than 20 years of experience, because they do the same thing every year, right? And so to me, this program that we've done, it's something specific that I can do that helps me to get out of that repetitive, I'm gonna do the same thing year after year after year. It's forcing me to think differently. It's forcing me to challenge myself and consider different ways of doing my job that I would never consider if I was just in my room doing my job year after year.